Welcome to this latest edition of the Ril Dil podcast. I'm your host, Ril Gerald Quinn, recording this on a Tuesday. Hope everybody out there is having a great week. A lot to talk about on this. On this podcast, episode 1069. Thumbs down. We'll get to that towards the latter part of the podcast, but we begin with our continual coverage and previewing the college football season with the deep dive. This week's deep dive is the Heisman race 2027, 2026 season, but in 2026 season I should have put. This Heisman race will be a quarterback-driven Heisman race, to say the least. You'll hear, some of the names you're gonna hear. You're gonna hear Arch Manning, Julian Sain, Dante Moore, Darian Mensah, Jeremiah Smith, the great the great wide receiver out of Ohio State. This race, we have not had it's gonna be interesting this year with the Heisman race. We have not had a compelling, really Heisman race in a long time, to be perfectly honest with you. Last year's was borderline being non-existent. I know Fernando Mendoza won. It was an excellent story, but it was more about the team in terms of Indiana than it was about his individual brilliance. I mean, he had a great year, but they were a great and dominant football team. To be honest with you, I think you have to go back to 2016 for the last great Heisman race. Where you had Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, and Baker Mayfield. Of course, Lamar Jackson won that year over those two quarterbacks. And then, you had the last 10 years you've had quarterbacks win the Heisman race. And I just wondering, what – I don't know if it's that it's still one of the top award in college football. It's still – one of the most prestigious awards in all of sports. Like the Heisman, winning the Heisman, that means something in a major way. I mean, that is something you win the Heisman, you are a Heisman Trophy winner for life. When somebody dies, that's going to, a Heisman Trophy winner dies, that's the first thing on their obituary from the standpoint of what they're known for. Heisman Trophy winner, so and so passed away. It's a big deal. So I don't understand why it hasn't been really. It gets discussed, but it's I want to say it's lost some luster over the past few years. I want to say it's lost some luster over the past few years. I don't know why exactly that is. To be honest with you, there's no real answer to why that's been the case. But I think this year's race has a chance to be will be a great race. I think you have a chance. Again, is a quarterback. Trinidad Chambliss is also on that list. Again, the favorites: C.J. Carr, Arch. You're looking at the favorites from in terms of betting. You got C.J. Carr, Arch Manning, Julian Sain, Dante Moore, Trinidad Chambliss, Darian Mensah, and Jeremiah Smith in that order. And I don't know if some of the attention now has shifted. I just wonder, with the attention of the award isn't what it once was, because maybe people are paying more attention to the playoffs, this newly formed college football playoff, which will be in its third year now. NIL stuff, transfer portal stuff, that, college football, there have been a number of stories and narratives in college football over the past 4 to 5 years. And, not to say that might be a reason why, the Heisman Trophy has been put somewhat on the back burner, so to speak. But it is still one of the most prestigious awards, forget about in all the college sports, but in all the sports, period. Again, this race will be absolutely wide open. To me, I think it will be similar to last year. It'll be similar to last year, where it's gonna be something that's gonna be decided probably in December, late November, mid to late November. You can't win the Heisman in September or August or September, but you can certainly lose it, as was the case last year with Arch Manning. You can certainly lose it getting off to a slow start in September, or in October, in August or September for sure. Um, more than likely, it's going to be, especially this year being such a quarterback driven year, where you could have anywhere from 3 to 4 guys taken in the first round this year. You'd be kind of surprised and not shocked that a quarterback does not come out here and win the Heisman Trophy this year. CJ Carr is the favorite, and I don't understand why CJ Carr is the favorite. I understand that Notre Dame is going to be a playoff team. Like Notre Dame, I'd be shocked if Notre Dame is not a playoff team. But remember, Notre Dame is a power football team. They're a defense, running game first type football team. Now, they lost 2 running backs in the NFL. Jeremiah Love was was like the number 4 pick last year. Expected to be in contention for offensive rookie of the year for sure. But Notre Dame, even traditionally, even when Notre Dame has had some great quarterbacks in its history, but Notre Dame in its history, even this year, they are, again, when Notre Dame's good, it's about their defense and about their running game. It's about the point of attack football. So is CJ Carr going to put up the type of numbers? He's going to win a lot of games, but is he going to put up the type of numbers that will have him, that could have him beat out those other quarterbacks who seemingly, to me, are probably, when I look at what Carr means to Notre Dame versus what Trinidad Chambliss and Dante Moore and those guys meant to me to their particular schools, probably a little bit more valuable to their particular schools than CJ Carr is. So I don't understand how he's the favorite. Now again, he's not a overwhelming favorite. He's plus 750. Arch Manning is plus 750. Julian Saint, then you go Saint plus 1,000. Dante Moore plus 1,000. Trinidad Chambliss plus 1,100. So you got 2 guys that are kind of slight favorites in CJ Carr and Arch Manning. But overall, this race it's going to be a very tight race. Again, people listen. Arch Manning, until Arch Manning just completely just falls off the cliff as far as his performance, people are going to be drinking that Arch Manning juice until it's just evident that he's not a top quarterback, or until it just becomes abundantly clear that this guy is not going to be the it guy. They're going to milk it. They're going to take it. Last year, it was a fluke. It was his first year starting. There's, based off what you've seen up until this point in Arch Manning's career, his short career, he should not be a top 2 Heisman candidate. He shouldn't be a top. I wouldn't have him as a top 5. Heisman candidate. Matter of fact, I would take Carr, Dante Moore, Saint, Trinidad Chambliss, Mensa. I would take all those guys over Arch Manning as a candidate, to be perfectly honest with you. Like I just don't. Again, the media, the powers that be, the narrative, the people that control these narratives and that start these narratives are going to push Arch Manning until he can't be pushed no more. Until it's evident that he's not that guy. They just are. At least Caitlin Clark produced in college. The Caitlin Clark narrative in WNBA kind of drives you crazy a little bit with how they've, pushed her down your throat as far as being a generational talent. But at least she was a great college player. Caitlin Clark got her team to a national championship and was a college player of the year. So that's, that was somewhat understandable. But Arch Manning has done nothing to deserve this praise that he's getting, And again, we saw what happened last year. The Texas team is loaded this year, so he has everything in front of him to be successful as far as the talent that he has around him. But I wouldn't have him as a top 5 Heisman Trophy candidate. I mean, he'd be in the conversation. You have to mention him just to mention him, but like him being second, him being even second with the betting, is a little suspect to me. But that's Vegas knows a lot more than I do when it comes to that type of stuff. The Associated Press AP preseason poll came out yesterday. You had your top 10: Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, Notre Dame, Texas, Indiana, Miami, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, and Ole Miss. 5 teams have first place votes. Ohio State, Oregon, Notre Dame, Indiana, Miami. Georgia at number 3, no first place votes, which I found surprising to say the least. I like Georgia is a legit national championship contender. They have a lot of talent coming back from last year. A veteran quarterback. We all know what Kirby Smart is as a head coach, arguably outside Cignetti, the best coach in college football. Definitely, at this stage right now, the most accomplished college football coach right now, active coach right now. I know Dabo has 2 championships, but Clemson has been on the decline for a couple of years now. Surprised they didn't get any first place votes. A little surprising with that. Alabama ranked outside the top 10. They were 11th, of course, in the coaches poll, 13th in the Associated Press's poll. So it is their lowest preseason ranking since 2008 when they were 24th. Again, there's a lot of wait and see with Alabama. This could be one of these years, man, where the wheels could possibly fall off and they could be 8-5 and not even ranked in the top 25. Or I've seen places where Alabama could possibly be a top 5, top 10 team. I honestly don't know what to expect out of Alabama. I really don't. Alabama could be, who knows, in regards to what Alabama's going to do this year. Again, they have talent. Alabama always has talent. They're not going to overwhelm you with their talent. This year, but they have talent. There's no two ways about it. But this is one of these years where, listen, Kalen DeBoer, if they go out there and go like 8-5, 9-4, don't make the playoffs, and playing in one of these meaningless bowls on December 21st, or excuse me, or December 26th or something like that, things can get a little tricky for Kalen DeBoer. It can get very tricky for him very fast. Real thoughts. So a number of real thoughts. A lot of stuff happened last week into early this week. I'll begin with the Stephen A. Smith situation. So the NABJ gave Stephen A. Smith a thumbs down award. It is a award that basically goes to journalists or organizations who they don't feel like are doing the type of work that is representative of the NABJ, of their organization, of the NABJ, excuse me. And Stephen A. found himself on that list. This is a list that was not created for Stephen A., by the way. This is a list that's been going on since 1989, so 37 years now. You've seen corporations get this award. We've seen like CBS, New York Times, get this award. Not this award, but get this award for the thumbs down. First of all, I was surprised when I heard about this Saturday. I was surprised, borderline on being shocked that he received that that he got this. To be perfectly honest with you, he is, of course, a member. He has hosted the NABJ on his show on First Take. I believe last year. He's spoken there a few times. Has a lot of friends who are members. A lot of friends who are members there. So it's kind of a little bit surprised that they chose to go this route with him, especially considering who he is as far as when he gets criticized and how he claps back. But apparently they didn't give a shit, and this is what they stated. And the main reason for them giving him this dubious award was his attack or his disparaging of black women. Kamala Harris, Jasmine Crockett, Joanne Reed, not so much in that order, but over the last year or so. So here's what I'll say about this. First of all, hats off to the NABJ for doing this and for holding him accountable. It is not hate. They're not kicking him out of the organization. But what they are doing is holding him accountable for his words, holding him accountable for some of his actions. Stephen A. Smith is at a level where he basically feels like he can say whatever the hell he wants with no recourse or with no consequences whatsoever. He's basically at that level. Like, he operates with a level of entitlement and privilege because of the success that he's had, because of this MAGA energy that he brings, and because it's to think that, and I wish Stephen A. and I saw his response. I just wish that he just go full MAGA and just own who you are, own who he is. He goes out there and just continuously does these white supremacist, right-wing talking points, contrarian type points, and we know what it's all about. I mean, we know he appeases. He's going out his way to appease MAGA. He's going out his way to appease right-wing, to appease a right-wing audience. Again, and he's been like this forever as far as being transactional. He is beyond transactional. He is. He's doing anything for $1. He will say anything for $1, for a clip, for a rating, for $1. Period, point blank. And to me, there are consequences for that. There are absolute consequences for that. And I'm like, I heard his retort. I heard him clap back on his straight shooter YouTube show, and he looked, and again, didn't watch the entire thing. Watched enough of it to get the gist of what he was trying to say, of what he was trying to say. And there was and again, the apology. It wasn't an apology. The clapback playbook was in effect. His clapback playbook was in effect from a standpoint. It was very predictable. He's going to tell you these are all lies. These are no facts. He really leaned into the victim role during the 44 minutes, or a lot of the 44 minutes that he sounded off on the NABJ. It was more about letting you know basically almost every accomplishment that he's had, letting you know what he's done for the NABJ, letting you know how he values black women, because he was raised by five black women, his four sisters, and of course his late mother, who passed away in 2017. And again, it's a predictable playbook that he goes by, that he's used with clapbacks beforehand. And there's not like the one thing about Stephen A. is, and again, I just wish that, and I've been over Stephen A. from a standpoint of with his political shit. I already know the game. There's a couple things about I wish he just leaned all the way in, just go all full MAGA, man. And I think Stephen A. pisses people off. Not only about what he says about black people, especially black women at times, and not keeping that same energy for Donald Trump or the people on the right. It is about the fact that, dude, we can see what you're like. We see your game. Like, we see what you're doing in real time. We see how you're moving. You're not fooling anybody with the bullshit. Like, yeah, that's the thing about it. Like, I think he talks to people like we're dumb. Like, he really talks about at black people like they're like black people are stupid. Like, we don't see through, like, people don't see through the bullshit. And again, I don't care. I honestly don't care that Stephen A. Goes out there and basically that he's a MAGA. I genuinely don't give a shit. You can fuck with Trump all you want. You can be a MAGA. Go out there and dance for the right wingers. Go out there on Sean Hannity's show or Chris Cuomo's show and play victim. Do all that shit, but just admit who and what you are. Like, you can't. There's no more tap dancing between that and pretending you actually give a shit about the black community. I'm sorry, I don't believe it, and I don't care. Today, something came out on Twitter or Instagram or online on the internet saying that he was in the works of negotiating a deal, some type of deal, television deal, where he's going to be broadcasting games for HBCU colleges. That's great for HBCU. I'm sure they appreciate that. That's fine. It does not take away the fact that what you're doing and continue to move in regards to how you're treating or what you're saying about black people. It doesn't. Like, I can see through the bullshit. It's kind of like somebody saying I'm not racist because I got 4 black friends. We see through your shit. Like, we see through your shit. Again, I would have more respect for him if you just owned your shit completely and didn't try to sell me on you're not, you're this. Try to sell me, show me one thing, but your actions say the other. And the community, not as a whole, but there's a portion of the community that don't fuck with Stephen A. Pure and simple. And it's not about canceling him. We, again, that don't vibe or don't fuck with Stephen A. That's it. And again, you can't tap dance between MAGA, right-wing politics and the black community. You got to pick a side. It's either one or the other. You got to pick a side. There's no in between. There's absolutely no in between. Like, the Byron Donalds, the Candace Owenses of the world, Jason Whitlocks, they fully lean into that bullshit, into like the anti-black. They are going all out from that standpoint. There's no tap dance. I'm saying, like, take it from them. Go follow that route, their route. They don't do this in between bullshit. I don't respect. And by the way, I have no respect for them. I have zero respect for them. But I understand. I at least understand. At least I can say, like, this is what side you're on. Stay over there. Stay over there. Like, Candace Owens they ain't saying nothing about doing shit for black people. Good. Don't, please stay your ass over there. We not the same. All right, please stay your ass over there. I know you don't fuck with black people. You gonna shit on black people. Good. I want to know where you're coming from. Period. Point blank. So again, listen. He came off again very super sensitive. This is a guy who is the ultimate can dish but can't take it guy. Stephen A. Smith is the epitome of that. And the idea that Stephen A. he would first of all he said one thing. He said a couple things that were ridiculous, but one thing that jumped out. He tried to like seem like this, this criticism, all these criticisms are coming because Democrats are afraid of him running for office and taking the nomination from that. And like, nigga, no one is like, trust me, no one fears Stephen A. as a viable candidate that can possibly get the Democratic nomination. Like I'm telling you right now, they don't. No one is like checking for Stephen A. from that standpoint. Everybody knows that you dip into politics for money reasons. Period, point blank. You're not going to stop. You are not going to give up your sports career, First Take, and everything that you're doing sports wise, and all the money that you're making from ESPN, the $100 million contract. You're not giving all that up to run for office and to run for president. Like we see anybody with a half a brain can see through the bullshit. This is all. I mean, all his entry into politics from the standpoint of this, fake ass political pundit. It is all for money. He makes moves. All his moves are all made for money, attention, and money. Period. Point blank. If you want to follow Stephen A., follow the money. Every move he makes is based off money. That's it. That's it. So again, I just really would have more respect for him if you just come out and just own your MAGA, just own you being a MAGA, own you being right fully, and just go all out fully right wing. Get your America, Make America's Great hat. Yeah, just go all in. Just go all in. This tap dancing shit is not working. I'm sorry, it's not. Because no one with half a brain is fooled by you from that standpoint. Jaden Daniels. So Jaden Daniels, Washington Commanders quarterback, coming off a season where he missed a ton of action with a number of injuries. Apparently, he and his team were not happy that LSU decided to give DJ Pickett the number 5 jersey. Jaden Daniels, of course, back in the 2023 season, won the Heisman Trophy award, had a spectacular season to say the least, and even though it was a brief career at LSU, had a spectacular career at LSU. Put up just ridiculous numbers, and again was deserved in winning the Heisman and leading them to a 10-3 season. Now he goes and complains about feeling disrespected about the university giving DJ Pickett the number 5. DJ Pickett, it hadn't been worn since Jaden Daniels left school in 2023 season, and of course was drafted number 2 in the 2024 draft. So roughly 3 years the jersey hadn't been worn. DJ Pickett last year this is DJ Pickett's sophomore year. Last year as a freshman, he did not wear the jersey. But when he signed with the LSU, he was apparently promised that jersey. Lane Kiffin says he upheld that promise, and they gave Pickett number 5. Now, keep this in mind, and also he went on. Jaden Daniels also goes on to request that LSU give back their copy of the Heisman Trophy, which is not going to happen. So here's what you have to know about college football numbers. College football numbers are rarely retired. There are not that many college football numbers that get retired. Period, point blank. There are schools like Notre Dame, Oklahoma, that don't retire numbers at all. Matter of fact, so Alabama, Oklahoma, and Notre Dame don't retire jerseys. And a big reason why these schools don't retire jerseys are they don't want anybody, I don't care what you accomplish, being bigger or considered to be bigger than the brand. Like the name on the uniform is the name is about the university. It's about the those signature uniforms that Notre Dame and Penn State has, and Oklahoma and some of these other schools who don't retire jerseys have. Matter of fact, those like Penn State and Notre Dame, they don't even have their names on the back of their jerseys. Their schools, USC is another one, doesn't even have a name on the back of their jerseys. Okay, so that's how much these schools are about the school, the institution versus the individual. They don't care. It doesn't matter what you accomplish. Now there have been schools that have retired numbers. University of Pittsburgh has 11 jerseys that are retired. So it's not all the schools in Division 1A, but the majority of schools don't. Is almost impossible, very difficult, and very rare that a number is retired. And schools have different policies for retiring jerseys. Like Syracuse, the number 44 was worn by, of course, the late and great Jim Brown, Ernie Davis, and then it would be worn by some other great players in Syracuse history. It almost was treated like Brazil soccer treats the number 7, like the best player, or Chicago. When the Derrick Rose went to a high school where the best player wore the number 25, something like that. Until until it was retired completely in 1998. The number 44 was permanently retired, but a number of guys wore that. A number of a few great players wore that jersey. So each school has a different policy in terms of how they deal with numbers. LSU, for its history, LSU's numbers have retired Billy Cannon, Tommy Casanova, Jerry Stovall, and Charles Alexander, and Burt Jones. Those are only LSU players whose numbers have been retired. Billy Cannon won the Heisman Trophy. LSU has only had 3 Heisman Trophy winners, and Billy Cannon, of course, Joe Burrow, and also Jaden Daniels. And then this thing got ugly when it also turned into a Jaden Daniels versus Joe Burrow situation. Now, mind you, Joe Burrow's number has not been retired. No one has worn it since Joe Burrow left LSU in the 2019 season. After the 2019 season in 2020, of course, he was drafted in 2020. So no one's wore it in 7 years, but they have not retired it. Now, his jersey will not be eligible to be retired until 2028. So we'll see what happens with that. Here's what I'll say in regards to this, as somebody who respects Jaden Daniels, as somebody who feels like Jaden Daniels has a chance to become a big-time player if he can stay healthy. If you're Jaden Daniels, you frankly, to me, have bigger fish to fry in the NFL. This is a big year for Jaden Daniels, coming off the type of year that he had last year with the injuries. People are questioning whether or not you can even stay on the field. So I don't know why. Again, there's a lot of talk and a lot of talk and innuendo about his family's involvement, his mom in particular, who is giving him actually giving him this advice to sue, to try and have a cease and desist against LSU. I don't know. I can't see how far that will go if there was no written agreement with LSU in that number. I don't think LSU would there would be a written agreement that Jaden Daniels' number is retired. Like I don't care what Brian Kelly said. Brian Kelly could have promised could have promised Jaden Daniels the world when it came to that number. It doesn't matter if it wasn't put on ink, if it wasn't like a written contract. That's just, rule number one. Word of mouth means nothing. It's about a written contract. So I understand why Jaden Daniels would want his number retired, considering that he's the only two other players did what he did in terms of winning a Heisman. We talked earlier about the Heisman Trophy. The Heisman Trophy is one of the most prestigious awards in all the sports. He was only one of 3 players in LSU history to win that award. But the school flat out does not have to retire your jersey. They just don't. And again, LSU, unlike North Carolina basketball, LSU does not have a set system in terms of how they deal with jerseys. Like North Carolina basketball has it where North Carolina basketball has only retired 8 jerseys ever. 8. But they have 46 numbers that have been honored. So if you win player of the year or win, there are about 5 or 6 different awards you can win that automatically qualifies you to get your number honored. So if LSU had that policy, his number would definitely be honored, for sure. And there would be an outside chance that they possibly would retire his number, though, because the Heisman would be the equivalent to player of the year. Though I don't know. There's been so many great players at North Carolina that, that could be up in the air. But there would be a possibility. But at worst, his number would be honored. And when your number is honored, it goes up in the rafters, but another player can wear that number in the future. And that's the thing. If I'm LSU and if I'm a big time college football program, Division I college football program, I'm not retiring jerseys. You know why why you shouldn't retire a jersey? Because you never know when the next DJ Pickett is going to come along and ask for that jersey. And right now, it is recruiting and getting players to play for Division I schools it's as competitive as it's ever been. That could be the difference. A guy wanting a certain number could be a difference between him going to your school versus him going to another school. It's just that simple. This young man clearly was a top player coming out of high school. He was ranked, I think, like the number 5 cornerback, top 20 player, 5-star recruit. He is a 5-star, could have went probably anywhere in the country that he wanted to go to. He chose LSU in part because they promised him that he would be able to wear his number. That's why I'm again, if they ask for Joe Burrow's number, if someone asks if a top quarterback coming out in 2027 says, I want number 9, you don't think LSU is going to be like, sorry, Joe, this dude could put us this dude can take us to the national championship next year. That is the game right now, and that is that is how competitive college football is right now. You can't retire jerseys. It literally would be foolish to retire numbers. I don't care how great the player is or what the player did. I don't. It's like you are at if you retire a number, to me, you are absolutely putting yourself at a recruiting disadvantage. I really believe that. Not to where it can cripple your program, but to where it could decide. It could be the difference between you not getting a great player, and I'm telling you right now, these teams can no longer stack talent like that. Like these teams, again, getting these guys are going where the money is. These guys are going where they feel empowered. These guys are coming in. Money may not be the end all be all. It could be you can have the same money, the same resources. It could be the difference of where that number is the difference in terms of a guy coming to your school or not. So I don't blame LSU for not retiring the jersey. I don't think Jaden Daniels went about this in the right way. I understand his frustration, but I think that you won the Heisman Trophy. If they retire it, cool. If they don't, they don't. They don't. Again, legally, they don't. There's no law in the NCAA or no law in the SEC that says Jaden Daniels' number has to be retired by LSU. Period, point blank. And the Joe Burrow versus Jaden Daniels discourse is just stupid. Don't compare. Joe Burrow played on one of the greatest teams in college football history, from top to bottom. Look at how many NFL draft picks is off that team versus 2023 Jaden Daniels team. So that discourse is just people want to just talk this just for the sake of talking. I mean, it was brought up because Joe Burrow said he wasn't treated like. Not Joe Burrow. Jaden Daniels said that he wanted to be treated somewhat like Joe Burrow, and didn't feel like he was getting the respect that Joe Burrow was getting. They haven't retired Joe Burrow's jersey either. For the record, his jersey has not got retired either. So this is a situation that I don't expect to be a big deal moving forward. I don't see anything coming out this situation as far as that. I don't think LSU will retire. They're not going to retire number 5. G.J. Pickett's going to wear that. And I'm telling you right now, don't be surprised if Joe Burrow's number does not get retired. Don't be surprised. It's that competitive, right? Is that competitive as far as recruiting goes. And again, these kids, those numbers are a big deal. They're a big deal with these athletes, man. I've heard crazy and wild stories about what guys will do to wear their numbers, how much these guys in the pros pay to get their numbers, and what have you. It's a big deal. It's not just any number. Certain guys just have to have their particular numbers, and that's college football is no different. Earn your leisure versus everyone. That's what we're going to finish off there before I let you go. So, Earn Your Leisure had the Invest Fest about a week ago. This past weekend, there were 30,000. It was highly successful. You had Steve Harvey, Magic Johnson, Serena Williams, 30,000 in attendance, set all types of records for their particular event over the course of its 6-year existence. But that wasn't good enough for the Earn Your Leisure crew, Rashad Bilal and Ian Dunlap. So I'll set this up like this. So this started a couple weeks ago, a few weeks back, on the Breakfast Club. Rashad and Ian went on there and basically were complaining about the city of Atlanta not supporting them throughout the course of the time that they've done the Invest Fest. Invest Fest has grown each year. It's been in Atlanta each year, and it has grown exponentially each year. Again, culminating in 30,000 people being there this particular year. The Atlanta mayor Andre Hawkins kind of clapped back. You had a number of other Atlanta personalities and people, a couple prominent people clapped back about it, basically saying, "Hey, there are a number of financial there are a number of Invest Fests that we have come through over the course of Atlanta. Invest Fest is a big deal to them. It's not the biggest deal to the city of Atlanta. It is somewhat of a big deal, but it's not like the economy of the city of Atlanta is dependent on Invest Fest." So they go complain about that. Everything seemed to be okay. Andre Hawkins showed up at the Invest Fest. They kind of seemingly pieced it up there. Then a couple of days later, last week, middle to late last week, on their Blackout show, which is on YouTube, Rashad Bilal comes out there and basically just goes scorched earth on anyone who had any type of criticism about Earn Your Leisure, or in particular Invest Fest. Some of the stuff, saying, hey, people were saying, he responded to, hey, Invest Fest is not sustainable. responding to people criticizing there being white people there. And he went on to say that, hey, I'm not doing the black thing no more. It's not a black event, so on and so on. Basically, just repeating a number of like white supremacist tropes. You can't do nothing for black people. Black people are always complaining. Most of y'all are complaining is looking for a handout and so on and so on and so on. I'm gonna invite more white people, and he again just goes absolute batshit on any type of criticism that came their way. Then you go find out that Teslin Figaro, who is a highly respected political commentator, you see it on Revolt, you see it on the Breakfast Club. I follow her on. She's on, of course, Instagram. That does and just is studying to become a lawyer. And just, calls it, she's been on Fox News battling against right-wing, talking right-wing hosts left and right, and they're basically whooping their asses in those debates. Just is ready for all the smoke. Just ready for all the smoke. She was supposed to go on Earn Your Leisure a couple of weeks back. And it didn't happen. And according to her, one of the reason why it didn't happen was of her being her making a comment in regards to what they said about Atlanta. Now, according to her, she basically says when Atlanta clapped back, or when they clapped back, she basically put in the comments, "I'm not surprised." And after that, they canceled her appearance on Earn Your Leisure, where she was going to talk about the young man who of course who did not come home and was killed. Did not come home and still did not come home from a vacation with having all white friends on the trip where he was the only black guy, where he was the only black man. Again, last name is Wells. His first name, I cannot think of his first name right now. I should know this. But the Wells, the situation with last name is Wells. She was going there to talk about that. They was like, nah. So they reacted to that. Her talking about this young man based off how emotional they got over her saying something about I'm not surprised. According to her. This is according to her. So this has been a number of events that led up to this. This was not just a one-off in regards to their reactions to any type of criticism. I followed Earn Your Leisure for a few years now. I subscribe to their YouTube channel. I respect what those brothers have done, what they've built. They built it from nothing, from scratch. Period. They absolutely built that from scratch. They have helped a lot of people. They've done a lot of good things. I am not here to shit on these brothers by any stretch of imagination. But this is the type of shit I'm always going to be, when you hear black people taking down, shitting on other black people to get a proximity to whiteness, and that's what this is, that's problematic to me. And that's the type of shit that I just don't vibe with whatsoever. Again, criticism is all a part of when you have success. There's gonna come. Nolan Wells is the young man who was, of course, that was killed on that trip with the having all right friends. Nolan Wells, and she wanted to come on their show and discuss Nolan Wells and that situation, and their booker or publicist, a PR person, basically was like, no, we're gonna cancel her appearance, and she never appeared. And just over her comment that she over a comment that she made about not being surprised from their comment that they made about Atlanta. And they went out their way to shit on Atlanta. They went out their way to shit on black people, and it got like some of the criticism, some of the comments that they responded to, I just wouldn't respond to. Like someone said that InvestFest wasn't sustainable. Well, that's a comment why would you respond to that? Considering you're in year 6 now. They did a show Market Monday, their normal Market Monday show yet last night, and they responded to the criticism. And one last thing. Van Lathan Jr., who was at InvestFest, and was interviewed quickly for a hot take. Someone says, the interviewer, young lady says, hey Van, give us a hot take. And he basically, I'm paraphrasing, has basically said that capitalism alone will not save black people, will not save us. It'll be community and sharing. That turned into, oh my God, they reacted to that, saying that it's always black people who are told that basically they don't need money, or they don't need money, and that capitalism is bad. It's not what Van Lathan said. That's not what he said at all. Never said that we don't need money. That would be moronic to say that. It's not what he said. He was putting the emphasis on community. Pure and simple. Van Lathan responded to that on his podcast today, if you want to check that out. But this was a series of events. This wasn't just a one-off from those two brothers. And to me, again, I'm not telling anybody. To me, I don't understand the overreaction that they had. And it was a clear overreaction to the criticism of them. I would connect them with Stephen A. Smith from the standpoint of, I think when you get to a level of success, you feel like you are above criticism, that you cannot be criticized, that your good deeds put you above any criticism that you can be connected to. And that's just not how the world works. And again, they're coming off the most successful InvestFest that they've ever had. Period, point blank. If you're so pissed off with Atlanta, leave Atlanta. Take InvestFest out of Atlanta. The truth of the matter is, Atlanta doesn't need InvestFest. Atlanta has the 9th largest economy in the United States, the 20th largest economy in the world. That $100 million is nice, but that $100 million that they claim that they generate for the city of Atlanta could wipe their ass with that $100 million. Like $100 million is nothing to the city of Atlanta. Consider it. Like Atlanta is thriving right now, thriving as a city. It's called Black Hollywood. There's a lot of shit going on in Atlanta from an economic standpoint. They don't need InvestFest. Sure, they will take the $100 million. Fine, they're not gonna kick those dudes out and say, hey, y'all are no longer welcome. But if those guys walked away from it, if InvestFest was somewhere else next year, hey, okay, cool, we're good. They won't shed any tears. And I think that it's just, again, I think what you have to realize of what's going on, and their response, the early leisure response was kind of, again, I will give Rashad some credit in regards to, he did somewhat acknowledge that the reaction, he didn't mean to say what he said about everybody who been supporting EYL. The apology, if I was grading an apology, it would be like a D-, maybe D- or an F, because it still was a lack of accountability for a lot of things that he did say. And it was more about, I'm emotional because this is our baby. We built this shit from the start. Basically, it's still what Franklin Saint said, brick by brick. But here's the thing: out of all the negative things that you heard about EYL, you'll hear about 1,000 positive things. Even people who are still trying to defend Rashad and Ian, they were trying to defend even them criticizing Atlanta. Atlanta doesn't owe EYL nothing. Nothing. They owe them nothing, period. Atlanta is providing you the territory, the real estate, some of the best real estate in the country as far as black real estate and from in terms of a black economy. That's what Atlanta is providing you. Point blank. The busiest airport, the short flights from New York, short flights from Miami, short flights from D.C. Easy to get down there. Not hard to get to Atlanta. That's what Atlanta's providing you. They don't owe you, subsidies. They don't owe you support in terms of billboards. No. They don't owe you that. That's just the way it is. That's just how it is. They don't owe you that at all. Period. And if you're going trying to get it, if you're going to go about this is not the way to go about trying to get that, by shitting on the city, on Atlanta, a black city, on a New York radio station. That's not how you go about getting what you want. And they threw a temper tantrum. And again, if you listen to what they said on that show last week, it was like it was scorched earth, to say the least. And here's the bottom line from a capitalistic standpoint. InvestFest and those guys are not for everybody. They're not for everybody. If you can't afford to go to InvestFest, it's okay. It's not for you. It's not. There's nothing wrong with not being able to afford to go there. There's nothing wrong with not being willing to pay the kind of prices that they are charging for that show. I don't even knock their prices, to be honest with you. It is what it is. They have a big enough draw to where they can afford to charge that. They're not, again, that InvestFest is about celebrities, about public figures. It is not about everyday people. They're not out there supporting middle class or lower middle class or poor people. No, that's not the type of time they on. I'm gonna be honest with you. You just gotta keep it a buck here. They are about making millionaires, tens of millions of dollars. They out there making hundreds of millions, billionaires. They out there. They are about the money, pure and simple. So I don't want to hear no shit. I don't want to hear shit about community. They're not about community or building a community. They are about. They are strictly about the money. Strictly. And by the way, they are pure capitalists with a C, with a capital C. That is their right. That is their business. But don't give me this bullshit about community. You're not about the community. You're not about community when you talk about black people the way they talked about black people. Pure and simple. They show who they were, and I'm glad that it came out like that. I'm glad that they revealed themselves from that standpoint. You can go out there. You can support them. And by the way, you can go out there and get. You don't need to go down to InvestFest. They have plenty of free content on YouTube. They talk about 401ks. They talk about all types of shit on their YouTube channel. You don't have to go out there. You don't have to fly to Atlanta and pay whatever, anywhere from $300 to $2,500, and that's not including hotels, food, and what have you. For that 3-day conference. Because for most people, that they are not for what that's not for most people. It's not. That is for a select few. It really is. But again, I don't. The apology was, and then did not come off genuine. The apology was. I'm not gonna say it was a fake apology, but I'm not buying. I'm not completely buying that apology. I again, I've seen where they stand at right now. Um, you can support them. You can support the channel if you want. That's fine. I'm not gonna tell you not to support them. I'm not gonna tell you not to fuck with EYL. What I would tell you is just understand where they are coming from and understand the audience that they are targeting. Because there's a chance that you're paid. There's a chance that I know that the audience that they're targeting is more than likely above your pay grade or above the pay grade of most African Americans. That's just the reality of the situation. So, what I'm seeing right now, when I see people criticize what Van Lathan Jr. said, John Hope Bryan criticized it. Mandy from formerly Horrible Decisions, they from Decisions, I know they changed their name, criticized it. What I'm saying is that in this country, from a economic standpoint, the gap between wealthy people and non-wealthy people is as large as it's ever been. Period. You got the haves and the have-nots. Those dudes are with the haves. they are on the side of making the haves more money and more millions. They are not about uplifting the have-nots from an economic standpoint. I don't believe it. I don't believe it unless they completely change what they are all about, unless they completely change their attitudes, or how they moving. That's just my belief. So, again, this is not to disparage them from a standpoint of, unsubscribe their channel or, don't ever follow. There's some economic advice. There's some 401k stuff. They have stuff that could be of service to people. But for the most part, the stuff that they're pushing is for more than likely is out of most Americans' pay grade, to be honest with you. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Ril Dil podcast. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I will see you next time. Later on, of course, later on this week, we will be back wrapping up season 1 of the Insecure podcast. So it'll be season 1, episode 8. Stay tuned for that later on in the week. So long.